So the first presentation will be given by the Banco de España, by Maria and Javier. And please start your presentation, and I promise to introduce you afterwards.
Maria is from National Statistical Office.
Okay, sorry. You get your CV afterwards, I promise.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Is my presentation ready? Okay. First of all, I would like to thank my colleagues in Banco de España to thinking our work and our project in NSI, to be your partner in crime, preparing this paper about new sources to produce tourism statistics. I'm going to go, as we have to share the time of the presentation, I'm going to go quickly, okay? Since 5-6 years ago, we are working hard in our institution in order to introduce new tools and new sources and/or new sources in order to have better statistics, to obtain better figures and useful figures. We are publishing data under the umbrella experimental statistics using different new sources and new tools like card-bound data transactions to measure the expenditure on tourism, both inbound and outbound tourism. We are also developing web scraping techniques in order to catch information from the main platforms to measure the capacity and of this specific kind of accommodation that is a gap in our statistical system. Also, with an agreement with Eurostat, we are having information about the occupancy of those kind of accommodation. Is an agreement between Eurostat and the main platforms like Airbnb or Booking, and they provide Eurostat the data, and Eurostat merge all those figures and share it with the NSIs. And after, and the last one, but this is the main point of my presentation, we are using data from mobile phones to measure the tourism flows. We are having in my institution many other experimental statistics about many different topics, but this is the one related with tourism, and this is the one I'm going to put the focus today. This started just before the pandemic. NSI signed an agreement, an economic agreement, with the three main MNOs, mobile network operators in Spain, which are Telefónica, Vodafone, and Orange. With these agreements, NSI receives aggregated data. This is very important. We don't see any kind of individual record, and we cannot track any individual with the information we received. We have monthly data since July 2019 till today. Indeed, yesterday we are receiving the data from January 2024. And our objective is to measure the number of tourists, inbound tourism, outbound tourism, and domestic tourism. We try to cover the whole picture, broken down by origin and destination of trips, with a great increase on granularity, because we know almost all the countries where the tourists come from to Spain. I'm going to put the focus in the inbound tourism, but it's similar for the rest of the approaches. And we know the municipality they visit. So it's a huge amount of data we provide monthly. And of course, with a huge burden reduction, because we don't have to do any kind of survey or make questions to anybody. But this project is not only about receiving data. I think the most important issue of this project is the collaboration we have made during this time, and we are doing nowadays as well, with the three main MNOs. We have to work hard with them, collaborate with them, because as we don't see any individual data, we don't know how the microdata that they are managing from the antennas and the mobile phones, they have to transform those data to a statistical database with our definition, with tourism statistic definitions. So this is the work we have to do with this kind of owners of private databases. When we receive the data from the 3 companies, we integrate the information and check with another sources we have. And as I have said, we publish monthly the results of the number of tourists, the number of overnight stays, with those breakdowns, the countries of origin and the municipalities of destination in Spain. We have many works, many tasks to do now and in the future, that we have to analyze the same-day visits, excursions, and we have a gap still today, that is the domestic tourism in the same province of residents, of the people, of the population. This is the variables we are publishing monthly, and what is for me the most important issue of this project is the confidentiality. As I told before, we don't see any kind of microdata, we don't have access to any individual records, and indeed only cells with more than 30 tourists are published. So no one, we don't see anything, but no one that access to our publication can track an individual. This is how we publish the data. We can, everybody here can link in our website and download all the information, but we have also these nice maps to see the information. For example, you can select a specific country, United Kingdom, for example. Those are the data of the December 2023, and you can see the number of tourists and all the cities from July 2019. And this is doing the zoom with municipalities. You can check how many tourists and where they come from, for example, in Madrid. This is another analysis you can do, is which municipalities are the most visiting by any nationality. But for me, the one to remark today is the pros and cons of this kind of projects. Pros, of course, granularity, punctuality. We can have the data sooner, no burden for nobody, and a large coverage, because we are seeing the whole picture of the main MNOs. They are not studying just a sample. But there are cons, of course. We have to work hard in order to transfer the MNOs databases to tourism statistic definitions. We need more variables. It's not only the number of tourists. We have to know why they travel, where the accommodation they use, the means of transport, the expenditure. So we need to look for this information in other places. Those data are very sensitive, in order that any kind of technology advantages can affect in the information we receive. So we have to understand these changes in technology, and we have to access to the information by contracts. And just final remarks, and give the floor to Javier. In statistical, official statistics have to go in this boat of new sources, because we have to provide data useful for the society, useful for the politicians, for the making decision process. So with taking care of confidentiality and working hard with the owners of this information, but this is, in my point of view, the way we have to follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria. And good morning, everyone. I'm going to describe briefly the experience of the balance of payments division in the Bank of Spain in the use of card data. And we exploit two data sets. One is the data obtained from a national agreement And the second data set is the data obtained from the EU ECB regulation 2020 that refers to payments abroad from, and this is data from 2022 onwards. In this table, you can see that these two data sets are different. I highlight in red the main differences. The national data, based on an agreement, is a voluntary agreement with the card scheme operating in Spain. Is not the collection is not mandatory, and the data is not harmonized internationally. On the contrary, the regulation data is the collection is mandatory because it follows this regulation from ECB, and the providers are the resident payment service providers in Spain, and this data set is harmonized internationally. The frequency and timeliness is adequate for compilation of BOP in both cases. And with respect to the details in the data set, the geographical breakdown is more complete in the regulation data because it covers a breakdown by individual country, while the national data is only cover aggregate areas. The national data includes cash withdrawals. That is not an information included in the regulation. So it is defined now. And in both data sets also include the payments in point-of-sale terminals, both for remote and non-remote transactions. But in the case of the regulation, there's an additional breakdown by merchant category code that is very relevant because it gives information about the activity of the merchant. The coverage is similar, a bit higher in the case of the regulation data. Then, regarding the use of this data, the national data is used since 2002 for the estimation of BOP travel debit. It's provided by the Payment System Department, and the data is introduced in growth rates instead of levels because we don't have exact information on the weight of card payments in total payment. Some complementary data sources are used, for example, for the geographical breakdown, the travel survey elaborated by NCI, the resident travel survey. With respect to the regulation, at present we are studying how to use this data for estimation of the BOP travel debit. Here is very important the cooperation with other compilers in the framework of the working group travel workshop. In the short run, we are working also on the dissemination of new experimental statistics. In this slide, you can see the main strengths and limitations of the card data. In addition to the granularity and timeliness that I mentioned before, I would like to stress the importance of the breakdown by MCC. This is a list of more than 300 codes. On the table in the table on the right, you can see the more representative code. Some are related to trading goods, other are related to trading services, and with this information, it is possible to estimate a breakdown into goods and services for the card payments. It's important also to mention the limitation. The main limitation are the partial coverage and the assumption on the residency that we had to assume that the residency of the card holder is the same than the residency of the card issuer. And there's also distortion in the geographical breakdown especially because of the transaction routed through digital intermediation platform. As I mentioned, we are working on a new experimental statistics. The starting point is a list of MCC related to travel. We rely on the work of the travel workshop. We had approximately 200 codes related to travel out of the 340. Then some decisions on the codes included were made. Then, in addition to this list, we had to apply some special adjustment on the data. For example, for travel agencies and tour operators, it was necessary to deduct the international transportation and intermediation fees. For other codes, like accommodation services, the travel agencies and the theatrical producer, it was necessary also to adjust the geographical breakdown because there was some transaction channel through the DIPs concentrated in some countries, and then for all this adjustment we use the information of the survey. Then this is simply a summary of some results. We had that 1/4 of the card payments are travel related. We estimate that are travel related. The percentage is different between remote and non-remote payments. For non-remote payments, most of the transactions are considered travel related, but for remote, only a small percentage. And this is the table of the ranking of the NCCs. Then to conclude the three conclusions, despite the limitation, this card payment data is a useful data source for estimation of the household import of goods and services in general, and in particular for the travel expenditure. The main strength of this data source is the timeliness and granularity and the new information on NCCs. And as I mentioned in the presentation, there are some challenges to solve related to geographical issues and the combination with other sources. And it will be very important to cooperate with other international organizations and with the NCI at national level, and to keep contact with declarant to clarify the content of the information. Thank you. It was a bit fast, but...
Thank you very much. And just as promised, you saw a presentation by Javier Alvarez, who is a senior statistician at the Statistics Department of Bank of Spain, and his work focuses on questions related to the estimation of goods and services in the balance of payment. And he also worked in the field of workers' remittance in the past. He holds a PhD in economics by the Universidad Complutense de Madrid and a master's degree in economics by the Centro de Estudios Monetarios y Financieros. And before that, we saw Maria Velasco, which indeed, I apologize for the mistake, is a senior statistician at the National Statistics Institute of Spain. And as you have all seen, she spent almost her whole career linked to tourism statistics and analyzing the sector from the supply and the demand side. In recent years, she has been working in the incorporation of new sources of production of these statistics, and she graduated in mathematics also from the Complutense University of Madrid. So thank you very much, and sorry for the hiccup in the beginning. And we continue our session in exploiting new data sources for external statistics with a presentation on using EMIR data for external statistics. And our presenters will be Kujtim Avdiu from the Central Bank of Austria. He joined the Oesterreichische Nationalbank External Statistics, Financial Accounts and Monetary Statistics Division as a statistical analyst in 2013. Previously, he worked as an assistant at the Vienna University of Economics and Business and at the University of Vienna in the field of finance. He studied technical mathematics at the University of Linz and holds a doctorate in statistics from the Ludwig Maximilians University in Munich. He has published in several journals, including the SN Business and Economics, the Journal of Risks and Financial Management, and the Journal of Beta Investment Strategies in the field of finance, statistics, and international economics. And the second presenter will be Eva Ubel. She joined the Austrian Central Bank in 2007 and until 2019 worked in the Financial Stability and Macroprudential Supervision Division. Since the end of 2019, she's been the head of the unit in the External Statistics, Financial Accounts and Monetary Statistics Division, responsible for the compilation of external statistics and financial accounts. Previously, she worked as an assistant in the University of Vienna and completed her doctorate in finance, also at the University of Vienna. She has published in areas of insurance market stress testing and macroprudential policy. The floor is yours. Please, 15 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our presentation. First of all, I want to thank the organization team and the Banco de España very much to give us the possibility to present here. It's an amazing conference. So what I'm going to present today, or we are going to present today, is we try to exploit the EMIR data source to derive experimental data for stocks of derivatives for the Austrian market. And due to the richness of the data source, we can show you some interesting results. How we want to lead you through the presentation with 3 questions we want to answer. The first is, why using EMIR data? Then I hand over to my colleague how to use EMIR data, and I will come back to you with the first results that can be derived. So why using EMIR data? So maybe to go a little bit back to the financial and economic crisis of 2007 and 2008, where we have seen that undoubtedly financial derivatives played an important role for contagion effects all over the world. And in the aftermath, the call to more regulation and to more information about financial derivatives was very loud. And it took some time, but in 2014, the EMIR data regulation came into the place. So it's almost already 10 years ago, so because we speak about new data sources, okay? But when the central bank started about 2 years ago, it was like when I already knew from financial stability point of view that this database exists, but we know it's really difficult and huge data, like big data, so it's hard to work on it. But in this sense of, if we are able to derive here macroeconomic statistics or experimental macroeconomic statistics, then we have this perfect match of microdata and macrodata, because these are very granular data. They are almost complete. So if we for our national reporting, we have thresholds, yes, and it's also difficult to get into non-financial cooperation to report everything. And the most important thing, the pro is this data is already here, it's available, we should use it, yes. The cons are, as I already said, it's unstructured big data, it's really difficult, and they're not collected for a statistical purpose. So that makes it even more difficult to get all the information we need. And then there is the quality issues, because the data don't go through all the data quality management which we do for our reporting data and the requests on the reporting firms. And yes, this is a big issue. So I give over to our brain behind the EMIR data.
So, does it? Okay. Thank you, Eva. After having a lot of presentations about financial FDI, portfolio investment, and current account, etc., now we come to a very exciting part of balance of payments, which are financial derivatives and EMIR data. It is very big, and it has been really a challenge working with EMIR data. As Eva mentioned, it is a real big data that contains a lot of information like contract value, a national amount, and derivative types and all other information we need for our statistics. We are focusing, we are saying that we are still on experimental statistics, so we no compile no statistics based on EMIR data. It's just experimental so far. And we are focusing on the reporting period December 2022, using data from January 2021 to 2022, which is very big, and you need a huge server in a small computer. This cannot be done. EMIR data provide us two kind of reports: trade activity and trade state reports. The difference between these two is that the trade activity reports are the raw reports from the from the counterparties, and the trade state reports are generated by the trade repositories. It's more or less a summary of the trade activity reports. To see which of these two reports is better for our purposes, we made a root mean squared error test, and we concluded that trade activity reports are a better choice for macroeconomic statistics. We used a time frame of 6 months for calculating contract value and notional amount. These are the two most important variables in the EMIR data we use. And all other informations, we use the time frame of 2 years, because EMIR data is really complicated. You don't have everything in one row, but you have to look backward. The contract value and which are the stocks and notional amounts, we derived these mainly from the reports of the counterparties, but we also use Monte Carlo simulations to calculate contract values for missing contracts. For example, that counterparties reports the contract, but everything else, but not value in this contract. Then everything else we need for our statistics, like contract type, asset class, strike price, currency, maturity, country, sector, etc. And after adjusting these databases, at the end we combine then everything to make the whole picture. We use also exchange rate adjustment. Not everything is reported in euro, and there are a lot of errors. This is why we use an outlier test. And in our word, confidentiality must be also included. I will not go into the details because of the short time we have, but you can see here how big EMIR data are. We used 119 millions of reports to be able to get this quality we have. And we have 2,040, more than 2,040 Austrian counterparties that are involved in financial derivatives. We have more liabilities due to the EMIR data than assets. Our top destination countries or counterparty countries are Germany, France, and UK, but also the domestic, in case of number of contracts. But the domestic network is also very high, as you can see here. The most traded contracts of Austrian counterparties are swaps, forwards, and options. The most important asset classes are currencies and interest rates. You will see later, Eva will continue, these are mainly held by banks. Summing up, it's very big. It was a challenge. I have faced a lot of data in my work. But this has really been a challenge to manage, to understand, and everything else. But we can say that we can use the database to generate our statistics. It's still work to do, but it looks very promising. And I will give to Eva back. She will continue with results and conclusions, which also is very exciting.
Thank you. I'm back with the last questions, which first resource can be derived. And I can provide you a lot of graphs with different analysis sites on the same data, but I will not provide you all because of time restrictions. First of all, yes, here you see where with the amount of contracts, which are the most important countries. We see it is Germany and France. If we look at the net value of the stock, so asset minus liabilities, we can see where we are net exposed on the asset side or on the liability side. Red is on the liability side, green on the asset side. So here we see also that on the asset side, it's France, it's UK. On the liability, it's Germany, it's Spain, but also Czech and Romania. So on the next 8 slides, we have provided all combinations regarding country, sector, type of contract, and asset class. But I will not go through all these slides, but if you have the leisure afterwards and you're interested, you can go through. I will stay with this one. Stocks of Austrian financial derivatives, country and sector. What do we see? That Austrian MFIs are who dominate the financial derivatives markets, which is not so surprising. And it is in Germany is the biggest counterparty. But what we also see, and was very interesting for us, is that the non-financial corporations are heavily exposed they are exposed to the Netherlands. So after going through all these different combinations, we get a big picture which tells us that Austrian MFIs are invested in interest rate swaps against Germany. This is like the main result. And Austrian non-financial corporations are invested in commodity derivatives against the Netherlands. So this is the big picture. So then, if you have time afterwards and you're interested, you can go in more detail. And in the last step in our paper, we wanted also to present something like a risk measure, leverage risk measure, to make an appetite to use this data also more for other analysis. And what we have done is something like an aggregated leverage ratio for country, sector, and asset class. So we calculate the current value, the ratio of the current value to the notional. So you have the multiplier, the leverage, but it's only on an aggregated basis. But we can get a picture where might be the heavier risk exposure to which country, to which asset class. And we also have all the combinations, but I only will stick with the first, maybe the third one also. Here you can see, which is very different to the exposure of the contract value, which is the market value. Here you see the leverage, it's like a risk measure, and you see that not Germany is the one with the highest rate, but it's the Netherlands, and it's the non-financial corporation which are more exposed to regarding the leverage. It might also be because we have not the time series, we have only a point in time, and so it might be because of the higher volatility of the electricity and the energy markets that we see it now higher. Yeah, we don't have this time series yet. Only against the US, also the banks are more exposed regarding the risk than in the other countries. And maybe I also come to one more slide regarding the leverage ratio, because here you see the financial sector non-MFIs, which is from the market value really small. That's why I didn't mention it yet. But on this slide, with this side, we see that regarding equity risk and interest rate risk, they are higher exposed in the meaning of the leverage ratio. So this is maybe interesting in the side of shadow banking. So that there is might be some hidden risk, which you don't see on on the first side if you only look at the market values. So I come to the conclusion. Everything what you heard already in this, I hope for 50 minutes. The experimental data for financial derivative stocks and notional values were successfully derived from EMIR data. You have heard we didn't get transactions yet, so we are working on it. And data can be used for statistical analysis, broken down by country, sector, asset type, and contract type. And yes, Austrian MFIs are highly exposed to interest rate swaps with Germany, and Austrian non-financial corporations are significantly exposed to commodity futures vis-à-vis the Netherlands. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much also for the punctuality. And we move on to the third paper in this session, which is about identifying digital trade players through web scrapping. And this paper will be presented by Hasudungan, Paulanka, Siburian, and Aditya, Wisnugraha, Sugiyarto. I do apologize for the mispronunciation. Both of them working at the bank in Indonesia, and they analyze web scraping to systematically identify digital trade actors. And their proposed actor identification approach and automated data collection techniques aim to strengthen external sector analysis. Please, the floor is yours. 15 minutes, please.
Test. Okay. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, and also we would like to thank to the organizer for have accepted our paper and then give the opportunity for us to present it this morning. Yeah. On this time, me, Hasudungan, and my colleague Aditya will present the web scraping as a detection tool in identifying Indonesian cross-border digital trade actors. So what drives this paper? So it comes from research questions. So what is the importance of digital trade statistic in Indonesia? How to build it, and what are the challenges and how to overcome it? Since this digital trade is new trend globally, including in Indonesia. So the other is Aditya Nugraha and Mia Sudengan, and the other is like Marlina and etc. We are from Bank Indonesia, from the balance of payment division of statistics. Okay, move to the next slide. Before we dive into the specifics, I would like to talk about the statistic of digital economy in Indonesia. So to give the sense, what is the importance of digital trade in Indonesia? So in terms of its volume, Indonesia contributes 42% of the Asian digital economy. And also in investment inflows, there were growth of 100% from 2021 to 2022. So this is driven by the high internet users in Indonesia, which raised 66% of whole Indonesian population is internet users, and more than 50% is dominated by Gen Y and Gen Z. And in compiling cross-border digital trade, we have formulated the current state and then the desired state. So today we are still facing the problem, like the complex and time-consuming process in identifying trade actors. And also we are facing challenges like limited information about the company names, and then there are still a process of manual in finding the company profiles. So at the desired state, or the goal that we want to achieve, it is expected that we can get the information of digital trade actors, which is complete, clear, and efficient, which is beneficial in building the database with good quality and with complete transaction coverage. So from the current state and the desired state, we identify the gap. So the gap or the opportunity that we can explore. So from some literature review, we get some insight that big data analytics and then advanced analytics can be used to bridge the current state and the desired states. So overall, our paper hopefully can contribute in providing the work paper related to cross-border digital trade in Indonesia, since the paper related to this digital trade is very, very limited nowadays in Indonesia. And also, this paper hopefully can provide a framework how to use advanced analytics to improve the quality of digital trade. For the next slide, I want to highlight the digital trade concept first. So we quote the concept from the Handbook on Measuring Digital Trade published by OECD EMF. That is first edition in the 2019 and the second edition in 2023. So according to this handbook, digital trade is international trade that is digitally ordered and or digitally delivered. So there are two main process here that is digitally ordered and digitally delivered. So since 2019, we have been studying this manual handbook and try to implement it in Indonesia. So we had like a focus group discussion. We had like exploring secondary data, and then some steps to mapping the digital trade transaction in Indonesia. Having all of that process lead us to a conclusion that there are 8 combination of digital trade transaction model in Indonesia, like you see in the slide. So for example, for the transaction that is with type of delivery non-digital, which is ordered by phone, email, or fax, along with the non-digital delivered, so it will be classified as non-digital trades. Besides of this transaction can be classified as digital trades. So this transaction model is essential for us to build the cross-border digital statistic in Indonesia. Okay, for the next slide, for the detail of methodology results, etc., will be delivered by my colleague Aditya. Please.
Okay, firstly, thanks for Mr. Hasudungan for the presentation. And let's continue the presentation. For the first of all, please pay attention that this paper only focus on good export. In compiling cross-border digital trade statistic on good export involve 3 main processes. For the first one, profiling of digital trade actors. Based on the manual handbook of digital trade, digital trade actors are divided into 3 types based on their transaction channels. For the first one, digital trade actor who use internal system, digital trade actor who use website as their channel transaction, and also for the last one is digital trade actors for using digital intermediary platform or marketplace in their transaction channel. For the digital trade actors who use DIP channels in their transaction, in Indonesia, we are use web scraping. Basically, we scrape from web of our official platform export. So in Indonesia, there is a official platform export that contain names of company that do export in Indonesia. And for the digital actor who use internal system and the website, we are using data from the ITRS, International Transaction Reporting System, that have been filtered by the financial relation. For example, if we have a transaction in ITRS data that the financial relation is like a group or affiliated, it will belong to the digital trade actors who use internal system. And if not, it will belong to the digital trade actor who use website as their channel transaction. Moving forward to the next step of this methodology is about identification of their transaction. In this stage, we have a problem in terms of like unstandardized actor's name. If you have an experience about the ITRS data, have reported from the conventional bank in, for example, in Indonesia, and the variation of name in each conventional bank is very different each other. So it's very challenging if we want to aggregate the for example, the company how is the transaction in total. It is challenging. So that is the problem, and we how we solve the problem is by using the data matching algorithm, or we can use the entity resolution algorithm. So basically, because in digital trade statistic, we also work in with two databases. For the first one, database that contain digital trade actors. For the second is database that contains transaction value, only transaction value, and the company name from the custom data or export declaration in custom data. We need to match them so we can get the value of the transaction. Also, especially for the goods export in compiling cross-border digital trade, we also use secondary data like aggregate digital trade transaction from cross-border e-commerce transaction in Indonesia. And finally, in the last stage in this methodology, we are extracting analysis result of the statistic by commodity, business model, and destination country. Okay, this is the result of this paper. This paper is mainly focused on how the impact of the use of advanced analytics, especially for the digital trade in good export. For the first one, in identification of digital trade actors, we have result coverage of actor has increased by 292%, and also it can improve work process efficiency. And also, yes, because the coverage of actor has increased, it will lead to a greater transaction coverage also. So for the second and for the third stage of our methodology in data processing and analysis result of the statistic, we have got the result in the use of advanced analytic, or in this case, the data matching algorithm with 96% accuracy can increase the efficiency of work process in terms of processing time and human resources. And also for the result of the database that we have created by using the advanced analytics, we have the result that the new database has better quality compared to the manual processes, because previously we are only using a manual process to identify which one company that belong to the digital trade actors. Okay, in overall, the use of advanced analytic sounds good for us, for me, especially for Indonesia, in increasing of the efficiency of the work process in compiling detailed statistics. Okay, based on the discussion before, we can conclude that the first one, advanced analytic, can increase the scope of the exporter of goods, and the second, efficiency in the work process has increased as reflected in faster data processing. And the last one is the quality of data can be enhanced through advanced analytic as it can minimize the human error. Okay. Lastly, we have identified room for improvement. For the first one, we can extend the use of web scraping not only in DIP, because currently we are still applying the web scraping only for the DIP channel. But for the future, we still developing the process of the web scraping process to not only in the IP channel but also for the other channel. And the last one is develop web scraping to extract the profile companies so that it can be tracked, especially for measuring whether the company is truly a digital track actor that use an internal system or not, because it is very challenging, especially for the international system. Okay, this is the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the presenters. Are there any questions? We have a couple of minutes for questions. Yes, please, there. The gentleman in the middle.
Thank you for this very interesting and inspiring presentations. I should have only one simple question for the Austrian presentation. The use of EMIR database is a very good and challenging development. And to what extent do the new data coincide with the formerly published data? So what is the relationship between the new and old, the yet published information? Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. I have a question to Maria. I would like to ask you if you can elaborate a little bit more on the relation with the private company, and specifically if it was hard to convince them to collaborate, if it was costly to make them understand the requirements of statistics, and if you feel that they feel this work as a contribution to a public good, or they just put an expensive price and do it to obtain income. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, there.
Okay, thank you very much, Caroline Willecke, ECB. Thanks a lot to all the presenters. I found it really very inspiring, and have a couple of also simple questions. One maybe just following up maybe on the question of Maria, if you could also say something whether you have any concerns with respect to the sustainability of the data source, so that more, not saying from one day to the other, but from 1 month to the other they tell you we no longer provide you the data, etc., or whether you have also in the contract there's a reassurance. Then one question, Javier, I was wondering whether you looked into the possibility of combining the data that you get from the payment statistics from under the ECB regulation and from your national data, in the sense, because I think of course in the payment statistics we don't have the information on cash from the ATMs, as you were also saying, whether, I don't know, there could be any possibility to combine the two. And one last question to the Austrian colleagues, and sorry to pick up on the bullet point you have not spoken about, but I was attracted by what you were saying on confidentiality, and that there is a need, or you see a need, to review the dominance clause and the number of counterparts, I think. And I picked it up because this is something that really also makes us a bit of a hustle in totally different field of climate data, because it can easily restrict, if one has many crossings of dimensions, can easily restrict what can be published. So I was curious how it plays in on your EMIR data, but also if you have any ideas in which direction to go. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much, and thanks for very interesting presentations. I'm quite opposed from Statistics Estonia, and I have a question for our Spanish colleagues regarding the mobile data. You mentioned several times that you are only using aggregated data, but have you played with an idea of having non-aggregated data or microdata, or is it completely out of the question in Spain? Because probably non-aggregated data would open new kind of avenues for research. Thank you.
And maybe one final. Sorry, I think we at some point have to wrap up, but do we have anything more? Yes.
Hello. I just wanted to, first of all, congratulate Eva and Kujtim on an amazing piece of work. I'm very aware how difficult that database is. And I just wanted one question, and well, two questions really. One is, do you know whether any other countries have managed to get as far as you have with this, or is this a first? And the other is, I was just wondering about the differences between the assets and liabilities, whether in your database you are able to, whether everybody is reporting on a gross basis, or whether there are any cases where you might see a net basis creeping in, because although I haven't worked on the EMIR database, I've worked on other derivatives databases, and you do get sometimes a few respondents not reporting on a gross basis. So I just wondered about that.
Thank you. And maybe one last question from my side to the colleagues from Indonesia. So I was wondering what considerations on legal aspects or data security and quality should be taken into account with that approach. And maybe we go in the answering like in the order of the presentation. So we start with Spain. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all those questions. Mainly, those are focused on the relation with the companies. In this case, with Telefónica, Vodafone, and Orange. From my point of view, personal point of view, we have an easy conversation with them. They understand the relevance and the importance of the data they are providing, because tourism is the main industry in our economy. So they understand the relevance of the project. Of course, we have to pay for that data, but also in my point of view, we are not paying for the data itself. We are paying for the transformation they have to do from the network data to this tourism data. So we have a lot of staff in those companies working for us, and that work had to be paid. So of course we pay also for the data, but we have to pay to collect the data in a traditional survey. So we have to pay to get the data in both ways. About the sustainability of the project, the current agreement ends at the end of the year, this year, and we are working now to prepare the new agreements, because we want to move from experimental statistics to official statistics. So we have to continue this way, and we have to put everything on a paper to ensure this sustainability. And regarding the access to microdata, is not on the table. They don't want it, and I think the data are so complex, because it's not a statistical database. This is data from the network, from the antennas, from the mobiles. So perhaps NSIs don't have the structure, the systems to manage, to handle all that kind of information. So I think it's much easier, it's much pragmatic that the ones who understand those data transform to the ones we understand. That's my point of view. Thank you.
Yeah, concerning your question about the combination of sources, well, we will continue using the national data for monthly compilation because it's, the regulation is quarterly, no? Then for this national data, we had the ATM withdrawals, and then this information will be included in the aggregate to be considered for quarterly aggregating to the regulation data. Another different question is the combination or the using of the use of levels or versus growth of rates, because we are currently we are using the evolution of the data because we don't have a precise estimation of the weight of card payments in the total payment related to travel. No? Then in the future we will need some estimation of this weight to gross up the level of the cards, and then to have an estimation in levels for the travel debits. And this question of the combination of card data with surveys and with other kind of sources is being studied in the travel workshop. There are some countries who are working on this issue. This is my answer. I don't know if you have.
Thanks for the question. So the first question is regarding the relationship to the reported data and our EMIR derived experimental data, I call them. If you look the overall stocks, they're really good. I don't know exact data, maybe then Kujtim, but they're really good. But if you look into the some specific firms, then then it's very heterogeneous. So some are exactly the same and others do vary a lot. But we learn from both reporting of each other because we have also a threshold in our aggregating reporting from 1 million euro. So we don't get everything like we have it in EMIR. And it's also difficult for the reporter to report financial derivatives the right way. So we always have really some issues in reporting data which we say, okay, we have to request the data. So, and we had already with the biggest derivative trader, we had some meetings, and we to speak about their reporting, their aggregate reporting, and also their EMIR reporting. And that's how we hope to get even closer. And we see who is not reporting, who is reporting in EMIR and not reporting to us, and then we write them emails to ask if they maybe have something to report. So it might be under the threshold, but so I think we are learning from each other. But and that's why we really need both data source now. But okay, that's what I'm wishing, or which is an illusion in the future, that it's so perfect that we only will need one. Then regarding, it's maybe also what you asked. Yes, okay. No, I give over for you, Kujtim, because okay. I think you. It's the confidentiality question because you raised it But I think it was more that the confidentiality that we have to go through all these criteria, but I don't think you have questions the criteria, or
Yes.
we didn't enter into this discussion about how to. We just use these criteria, and maybe yes, they should be discussed anymore. But this is out of the scope of the paper, I think now. Or you want to add?
It's working, yeah. Comparing results from EMIR data to our banks, it looks very promising. I just can say that in the EMIR data, mostly they report the clearing counterparty or not the real counterparty. And when we get the data from the banks, in case of compiling the data for balance of payments, they give us the real counterparty. It has been an issue, but it looks very good. We have also a very good relationship to the banks, so we are in meetings with them and ask them, etc. I think confidentiality, when we want to give this data to the users, not between us, but to researchers, we have to include this, in my knowledge, also in direct investment, portfolio, etc. We don't do less than other financial categories of the balance of payments. If something changed, we would welcome this. We have found a lot of papers, but not for statistics. Mostly of the papers. You want to?
No, yes. There's, I think the Banco de Portugal had made some presentation I've seen, and the UK Statistical Institute has written a paper about using EMIR data, and they also came to the conclusion that it's very important to use it as additional data. Yes. So.
Yes. Yes, and a lot of papers about financial stability, but to be honest, this database has been created for financial stability, not for balance of payments. We are just converting this to our purposes. The difference between assets and liabilities, yes, the results are in a very micro data, so we can identify which banks are the biggest players for Austria. We can identify which of one caused this difference, but financial derivative is not the other, not like financial, not like direct investment or portfolio. You know, you can change the position if you are in plus or minus. You can go from one day to the other, from assets to the liability. This is why it's assets minus liability is not the same like in the other categories of balance of payments. But yes, we can identify the big players and look through. I think.
Yes, maybe we move on in the interest of time. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. Actually, we've been investigating about the legal basis of this web scraping. So in Indonesia, there are some laws that regulate this kind of like laws number 28 in 2014 concerning copyright, and then laws number 19 in 2016 concerning information and electronic transactions. So where it is said that information can be known, accessed, used, and disseminated by anyone who uses the internet. So based on this legal basis, web scraping is seen as ethical and legal activity if it's carried out without reducing or adding to existing information and still includes the source of the information of that. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.